Hello and welcome to the JB&M Sports Fanatic channel. Thank you guys so much for coming through. And so, now we're going to have a little recap here of the new AP Top 25 entering into what's going to be week 4 of the college football season coming up here. And so, definitely got a lot to talk about here. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. All right, so at the top of the list, you see Alabama at number 1 coming off a very, very close game against the University of Florida. I mean, Alabama came out, took control early, but Florida fought their way back in, and this one went down to the wire. I was very impressed by Florida. Didn't know what to really expect from Florida coming into that game, but they really played and took Alabama all the way to the T, and they showed that this Alabama team, as good as they are, they still have room to improve. But one thing's for sure, they're still the top team in the country right now. No doubt about that, as Bama's number 1. And so number 2, University of Georgia. So when you think about UGA, you're definitely going to think about, their defense and how good their defense is. And so the question remains, on the offensive side of the ball, just, if they match up against a team like Bama, would they be able to go toe-to-toe? But obviously they're still extremely early in the season. They came off with a win against the South Carolina Gamecocks here. And, they definitely had to win that. But right now they are the number 2 ranked team in the country. And we're going to have to continue to see, how they do moving forward, especially if we continue to watch how their offense performs moving forward. But they did beat South Carolina convincingly, 40-13. So, At number 3, the Oregon Ducks, and they'll talk about another team that had a convincing win. 48-7 over Stony Brooks. No surprise there. This offense seems to be hitting strides out there, and that big win that they had a week ago against Ohio State. Oregon's definitely looking like one of the top teams out there and one of the teams that you really want to keep an eye out for, because this team is just so exciting in terms of how their offense looks. And there's a lot of teams out there that's some of the top teams in the country that you do have questions about their offense particularly, but this is not one of those teams. This is a team that you know exactly what they bring to the table on the offensive side of the ball. And so I'm excited to see this Oregon team moving forward. Next up is the Oklahoma Sooners. And so when you think about the Oklahoma Sooners, you know that they've been in a couple tight contests, and last week was no exception against Nebraska Cornhuskers. They did win 23-16, and that's your job to win. But at home against Nebraska, you expect them to have more of a dominating performance. We're still waiting on Oklahoma to have that real big, I guess you could say, dominating performance so far this season. But they are 3-0, and so therefore, putting them at the number 4 spot, can certainly see the potential with this team. At number 5, a very good story this season, the Iowa Hawkeyes. Now, when you look at Iowa, think about last week when they beat Iowa State and just where they are right now. This is certainly a team that's going to contend for that Big Ten title. You've got Iowa, you've got at number 6 Penn State as well. Those two teams, in my opinion, you can put them either or. I was very impressed with Penn State and their ability to beat a team like Auburn in a very close matchup. That's a big win for Penn State in that program. So both of those teams, Iowa, Penn State, 5-6, I like it. I think they got it right when it comes to that. Now, Texas A&M, they did have a bit of a scare. That injury that they saw at the quarterback position last week did have, some people scared, but their defense looked really impressive last week. They were able to come away with the victory. So I certainly do understand that, keeping Texas A&M at number 7 there. So they're going to be a team that I'm going to definitely keep a close eye out for. I know last year I felt like they were probably a team that should have been in the college football playoffs. But hey, Texas A&M took care of business against New Mexico State. And that's all you got to do. That's all you got to do. Just go out there and take care of business, honestly. So really looking forward to that. Let's see. Cincinnati. So for the Cincinnati Bearcats, certainly another team that you're going to want to keep an eye out for. They're 3-0 this season. We'll definitely keep an eye out for them, because I do want to see if they continue to win, just, how the committee's going to go about, ranking them from week to week. And then once we start getting those official Tuesday college football playoff rankings and stuff, like where do they really rank? That's certainly something that I'm going to be looking out for. But certainly, when it comes to the Bearcats, it's going to be a team to keep an eye out for, just because another team, had a good season last year. They went down to Indiana. They won 38-24. So, definitely looking forward to seeing if they can keep this going this season. And so at number 9, Clemson. I'm still not impressed with Clemson right now this season and what they've looked like on offense. Matter of fact, they had another close game. This time, Georgia Tech, 14-8. And if you've been following college football, Georgia Tech has not been on Clemson's level by far over the last decade, honestly. And so, yeah, for them to only be able to score 14 points, you have to wonder about this offense, and will this offense be able to crank it up? Because if Georgia Tech's playing them like this, then there's going to be some teams in the ACC that can't beat Clemson this year. I mean, like, it's seeming like this is the most beatable team in terms of the offense anyways. Now, the defense is still looking pretty good out there. So that's going to be where they're going to have to lay their bread and butter right now. Having them at number 9, I understand it. And having Ohio State at number 10. I mean, Ohio State, they did beat Tulsa. It was 41-20, but if you looked at the game, it really wasn't that close. I mean, it really was close until the final, like, couple minutes of the game. So having them 9 and 10, I personally would probably put Ohio State above Clemson right now, because I just feel that Ohio State's just a better team than Clemson right now because of Clemson's offense. But at the same time, I can understand putting them at number 9 because, I mean, Clemson's defense is by far better than what we've seen from Ohio State's defense. Although we did see it improve from their defense, but they have to put it together. You can't have a game where your offense looks great, then another game where your defense looks great. They got to put it together. But I think Ohio State's a team that later in the season they'll get it going. They're going to have to get it going if they're going to win the Big Ten this year, because Iowa's not rolling over, Penn State's not rolling over, Michigan State, we'll talk about them later on, Wisconsin, even Michigan. There's some really good teams here in the Big Ten, but that's an entirely different conversation right there. At number 11, if ever I were to say a team would be the most impressive loss on their resume, it's got to be the University of Florida. I mean, University of Florida took Bama to the T, 31-29 final score. Wow. I mean, that was a thriller right there. And if they get that 2-point conversion, who knows what would have happened, but they did wake up, especially in that fourth quarter. And so that bodes well for them. All right. So then you look at Notre Dame. And so Notre Dame, another team currently that, that's undefeated, but honestly, it feels like, even though they beat Purdue 27-13, I'm going to have to keep my eyes out on the Fighting Irish right now, because they're certainly, even though they're undefeated, I'm still haven't seen like that really, really impressive one. I know in the opening game when they struggled against Florida State, a lot of us thought that maybe that meant Florida State might be back. But after seeing Florida State, struggle as of recently, it makes me wonder just how good a team is this Notre Dame team. So I'm certainly going to be watching to see how they do moving forward. And so Mississippi, Ole Miss, a nice SEC surprise this season. And so I'm excited for Ole Miss. I mean, I feel that Ole Miss presents a real challenge in the SEC, and they could be a real fun team to watch. And so I'm certainly going to be looking forward to seeing them. I mean, right now, currently 3-0, but I want to see how they're going to do inside of conference play, because ultimately that's what it's all going to come down to. What are they going to be able to do this upcoming season? Now, yeah, they lit it up on Tulane, 61-21. They were not one of the teams that were struggling this Sunday. They were not one of those teams by any means. Now, Iowa State, another team with a very convincing win, 48-3 over UNLV. And so, yeah, definitely understand that. They did lose to Iowa, but I think Iowa just may be that good a team. So we're going to see how Iowa State does moving forward. But, yeah, I'm having a middle of the pack. I can see that. Now, BYU, they did have a nice win over Arizona State, 27-17, but we're going to keep watching. I mean, they're 3-0 right now, but we're just going to keep watching this team, honestly, moving forward. Same for Arkansas. I want to see how Arkansas does, in conference play. They're 3-0 right now, so that's good for the Razorbacks. I mean, this is the last time we was able to say that about the Razorbacks, but they beat up on Georgia Southern 45-10, so that's not the best resume builder right there. But to be 3-0 right now, that's good for Arkansas. And, I mean, I've seen some good things from them this season, so excited to see what they're going to do moving forward. Same with Coastal Carolina. I mean, hey, last year we really had to pay attention to them. Same with this year. Coastal Carolina currently 3-0, so going to be looking forward to seeing how they finish out this season. They definitely be a team that'll be a fun team to watch, especially once we see whatever bowl game they did. But they did survive quite the scare against Buffalo, winning 28-25. And so, yeah, definitely they got to make sure they stay focused, go out there, take it one game at a time, and we'll see how they do moving forward. And so, yeah, next up, the Wisconsin Badgers. And so when you think about Wisconsin in that Big Ten, that's now seeming more and more competitive than what people probably thought it was going to be at the beginning of the year, when they thought it was just going to be an Ohio State walk. But no, these teams are really out there. Now, Wisconsin, they're 1-1, so they definitely got to continue to fight. Now, I know that they did lose one that they should have definitely won when they lost to Penn State, but, Penn State's a good team as well, and beating, Eastern Michigan 34-7, definitely understand that as well. But, yeah, definitely when it comes to just what they're going to be able to do out there, I mean, they've got to make sure that they stay focused this year, because it's gonna be tough in that Big Ten. It's really gonna be tough in that Big Ten. So they're gonna have a lot of competition. But I'm excited for this Wisconsin team. You know, if they can go out there and play to their full potential, I mean, you know, sky's the limit, honestly. But there you have it. There you have it. All right. So next up on the list, we've got number 19, Michigan. Now, from what I've seen from Michigan, if you talk Michigan football right now, and this is coming from an Ohio State fan, Michigan right now, they look like their offense is clicking on a level that I've yet to see from them recently. I mean, you have to go back a while before Michigan is able to throw the ball to that degree. I mean, like, their quarterback looks really good. First time since they had Mike Hart, and I remember Mike Hart back in those days when Michigan lost to Appalachian State, and they were ranked number 2 back then. But the first time since having that squad do they have a running back rush for 100 yards in 3 straight games. And so that goes to show Michigan's offense is hitting strides right now, and they're going to be a team to watch, especially late in the season. But it's not just Michigan, it's the whole state of Michigan. It's Michigan State as well. The Spartans went down to the University of Miami and pulled away late, 38-17, showed a lot of heart on the road. You know, I mean, that running back they got, he was tremendous. You know, there's a reason why he leads the Big Ten when it comes to rushing touchdowns and a lot of those Big Ten stats, you know, because he's just that dominant. And I feel like both Michigan and Michigan State, they're going to be on the rise as we see for weeks moving forward on this AP poll. Now, some teams that we still have questions about, in my opinion, North Carolina. I mean, right now they're 2-1. We know they got upset like early in the season when they lost to Virginia Tech. No telling how good that Virginia Tech team is. But there's definitely a lot of questions about UNC moving forward. Now, they did beat Virginia 59-39. So if that's any indication that the offense can play at that level moving forward, then that'll be a good sign for them. Now, playing against Georgia Tech, we'll see how they do against Georgia Tech, considering that Georgia Tech kept it a one-possession game against Clemson. So we'll see if they can go down to Georgia Tech and really dominate. That'll bode well. Their quarterback's going to be a guy to watch for just NFL draft purposes. I know a lot of people were high on him before the season. Don't know if that's still the case right now, but we'll have to see each and every week, you know, how he continues to develop. And then at 22, Fresno State at 3-1. I mean, Fresno State, talk about an upset against UCLA. I mean, that was a pretty nice one. I mean, it was a thriller, 40-37. I mean, to have that pull off after UCLA had just upset LSU. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to seeing how Fresno State's going to finish off this season. They're on a 2-game win streak. So really looking forward to seeing how they're going to do. And then you talk about Auburn. I mean, it was a close game against Penn State, but they did lose that one. And obviously, we know with the SEC, we'll have to see how they do inside of conference play. UCLA, just mentioned them, you know, after they upset at LSU, and then to lose, you know, you got to stay focused. You cannot have a loss like this to Fresno State that came out of nowhere. They should have been ready for that. And so, but I mean, I still think they can have a good season this year. So we'll see how they do moving forward. And last on the AP poll here is Kansas State at ranked number 25, currently 3-0, rocking a 3-game win streak. And so we're going to see how Kansas State does. Their team that, you know, quietly, you know, they beat Nevada 38-17. So they quietly jumped into the top 25. And we'll see if they'll be able to make some more noise moving forward here. But, you know, being 3-0, that bodes well for them. And certainly if they can continue to run the table, that'll help their odds and moving up in the AP top 25 poll. But there you have it. We discussed the top 25. So definitely hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts on terms of how these teams are ranked, who are you projecting to move up, stuff like that. Just your thoughts in general. Definitely looking forward to it. But thank you guys so much for joining me, and see you guys next time.